smartphone screens illuminate a synchronized crowd. We are told we are freer than ever, but our actions suggest a growing passivity, a world where choices feel narrow, dogmatic, and heavy with a quiet, pervasive anxiety. Standard political analysis treats this social decay as a series of errors. We blame bad leadership, faulty algorithms, or an uneducated electorate for the breakdown of the democratic ideal. Turkish sociologist Yalçın Küçük identifies this state of affairs as tekel, the monopoly state. In his view, the modern decline of the individual is the intentional output of a specific social architecture he calls Tekelistan. Tekel marks the point where classical capitalist competition ends. Economic power has consolidated into a few hands, and that same small plutocracy has moved to occupy the machinery of the state. Small minorities ruling vast majorities face a mathematical problem: consent. When a ruling class cannot rely solely on the sort to maintain this level of concentrated power, they turn their focus toward the intellectual and moral condition of the public. A system that serves the interests of a microscopic few remains fragile so long as the population possesses the tools of critical analysis. Logic and independent research are, by definition, threats to a monopoly. To manage this, the state initiates surrealistryma, or herding. This is the active suppression of the human joy of learning. By making the acquisition of knowledge feel burdensome or irrelevant, the state begins to dismantle the public's ability to ask why. Intellectual curiosity is replaced by rigid dogma and manufactured religiousness. When people stop seeking evidence, they become reliant on the truths provided by the state. This environment functions as a fear generator. Constant anxiety over the future keeps the populace focused on survival, leaving them too paralyzed to organize against the structures of power. The ultimate result of this herding is a citizenry of passive subjects. These are individuals who have been convinced that their destiny is out of their hands, that the monopoly is as inevitable as the weather. Maintaining this psychological state requires a constant stream of reinforcement. Control of the herd is delegated to the media. Under Tekelistan, the press sheds its role as an investigative body. It transforms into a new religious institution, the modern cathedral of the ruling class. Küçük maps this hierarchy precisely. The monopoly owners sit as the high cardinals, setting the doctrine, while pundits act as preachers, delivering sermons to the masses. Their sermons rely on takiye, masked words hiding economic facts. They translate the plutocracy's interests into public relations, softening the reality of exploitation. The core message is always the same: the system is stable, the system is necessary, and any alternative is a delusion. In this corporatocracy, the media exists as a protective layer. It ensures that the hegemony of the monopoly remains unquestioned by those it governs. This architecture extends to the political sphere, where genuine conflict, the friction between different social classes, is effectively outlawed. Real debate is replaced by a forced culture of consensus. Political actors from all sides appear identical, as they are all bound by the same monopolistic interests. This leaves institutions like parliaments as a decorative facade. They retain their historical architecture, but have been drained of the power to make significant changes to the economic order. Even voting changes its character. Küçük describes modern elections as a theatrical coup, a method for the minority to seize legitimacy without actually risking their grip on power. Society returns to a form of middle-age feudalism. The public is invited to participate in the spectacle of the campaign, providing the illusion of choice in a system where the outcome is already anchored. When economic power is so concentrated, political theater becomes a tool of complicity. It invites the herd to sign their own names to the documents of their subjugation. The human cost of tekelistan is what Küçük calls eklemsizleşme, a psychological breaking of the joints. It is the steady erosion of the individual's will to stand upright. This process creates the man of small tasks. By narrowing life to a series of repetitive, meaningless routines, the state wears down the individual's ethics, rationalism, and capacity to resist. Recognizing this architecture changes how we view modern life. The anti-intellectualism and media manipulation we see daily are not unfortunate accidents of progress. They are specific, manufactured weapons. They are the tools used by a monopolistic class to defend an empire that could not survive the scrutiny of an awake public. Class struggle begins with the identification of this ideological prison. It requires us to see that the managers of the monopoly and those they herd are fundamentally opposing factions. Breaking this monopoly starts with deconstructing the sermons and identifying the preachers. Resistance is the act of reclaiming the joy of learning. In a system built on the silence of the herd, the individual who chooses to think for themselves becomes the one variable the monopoly cannot account for.